Hello, my name is Graciela Cruz, and for this assignment, I'm using the book called Assessment for Reading Instruction by Michael C. McKenna. The chapter I read was chapter 9, and chapter 9 talks about affective factors and how these are important to assess reading or how they affect reading. We have mentioned it before in this class how we have to know our students and their attitudes towards learning before assessing them. We have said about how we need to have a relationship with them before we give them an assessment, just to know them a little bit better. I love this chapter 9, because it's full of information. I didn't know that you can know so much just by giving an affective factor assessment to a student. I learned that it's very important to know their attitudes or to assess them with an attitude assessment, because attitudes are learned. So we're not born with the attitudes towards reading, but we are with our daily day-to-day interaction with books and reading and our family, then that's how we develop our attitudes. I have found in this textbook that it is very important to know how to assess students, or how just to learn their attitudes. The earliest, the better. So it will be better for us to know our kindergarteners, if we are teaching kindergarten, to know their attitude towards reading as soon as possible, because attitudes worsen over time. So that's why it is important that the book tells us that they worsen more quickly for poor readers. So we have to pay attention to that. The sooner, the better. And I also learned that the number of interest in children declines with age. So that's another important part of us assessing at an early stage in elementary school. How can we assess? How can we assess these students? The chapter 9 tells us that we need to do class observation. And one of the examples that they're using is by taking notes. Like if I know that I have a struggler reader in my class, I can take notes. I can say, okay, today Beth, she said she likes about, bugs or something like that, and then the next day I can say something else about her. That way I can have that book in my library. I'll make sure I'll have it. I can borrow it from the library, or I can just get search for the ones that I have in my personal library and make them available for her. Another thing that we can do is just by reading their journals entries. Most kids in elementary school, they have a reading journal, and they have to enter the titles of the books they're reading, or the ones that they're interested in. So we can check that. We can see what kinds of books are of interest to them. Another way, we can use open-ended questionnaires, and I found one that is a very, very good one in this book, and I'll be sending it to you as soon as I figure out how to do it. But I'll send it to you. The other way that we can help our students is by giving the interest inventory, or a survey about what they like to read, like the ones our professor gave us in the beginning of the year. We can use those to make sure what kind of books they like. Okay, it's important according to this chapter. We have to take action. If we see that there's a negative, they're not responding, there's a negative attitude towards reading, we have to take action as soon as possible. The book suggests some interventions, and one of them is read aloud to children. If you know that they're frustrated with their reading, then just read aloud to them. Another intervention the book mentions is make material of appropriate difficulty available. So just have it in library. If you're teaching second grade, make sure you have that reading level within your classroom. The other one is use electronic support, and this one I love because as a bilingual aide at Lincoln Elementary, I do use this, and they work for my students. I love them because I can send a book every Mondays. I send them on Mondays home with the corresponding tape or CD. For my third, fourth, and fifth graders, I use CDs, but the lower grade levels, I use the tapes, and I send them home on Mondays, and I always get them back on Friday. Well, most of the time on Fridays. Then, I can switch books for them. But I like them because if the parents are not able to read, they can, the kids can listen to the pronunciation of English, and that's why I love them. And the parents, they don't have to worry about not being able to read with their children. And some of the parents have mentioned it to me that they're learning, so that's something nice too. But I wanted to ask, do you have any other strategies for ELL students? I would like to know, because as a bilingual aide, I need to know if there's anything else I can do with my my students. And do you think that assessment, or have you ever thought before knowing about this chapter, that assessing such things like what type of books do you like to read, and those things, do you know they were important? Okay, thank you for listening, and goodbye.